In this video, I'll show you how to set up and use the Obsidian MCP server with local language models using Ollama, and how you can use it with OpenAI's API models like GPT-4o Mini. What I'm showing you here will be really useful if A, you don't want to send your notes through cloud provider models, or B, you're hitting up against like restrictions with Claude and you want to use local models to talk with your notes. So you should know this video is for nerds like me who want to use stuff in the terminal and understand how MCP works from like a developer perspective. You can see timestamps for this video, like if you want to skip right to the Ollama stuff, or if you want to go to the MCPHost installation, just go right there. But I'm going to start by installing the Obsidian MCP server. So if that's not exactly your thing, then I've got a different video where I show how to use Obsidian MCP with Claude desktop application. So you can check that one out first. And this video is going to start right from where that one ended. By the way, I've created an MCP Obsidian setup guide with all of the steps from today's video that you can reference as you watch it. You can go ahead and sign up for my free weekly email newsletter in order to get access to that. And I'm also working on an Obsidian MCP workflows library. So you'll get access to that as well when you sign up for my newsletter or join my Discord server. So we're going to be using this MCP server. It's called MCP-Obsidian, and it's available on PyPI with MCP-Obsidian like this. And here's how you configure it. It's literally run using UVX MCP Obsidian. And UV is a tool for packaging Python projects. It's like a virtual environment tool, and it can be installed with this command here. All right, so at this point, the only real thing you need to have done is installed UV. And now we're gonna install Ollama. So if I type Ollama and then, I don't know, like list, I should be able to see all my models. Ollama should be up and running. And Ollama itself is super easy to install. If you're on Linux, you can just run this command here. Now, if you watch my videos here on YouTube, you might have seen my Gemma 3 video and know that I'm a big fan of this model. It's very powerful. However, it does not have tool calling capabilities. So you'll need to pull a tool calling model in order to use this MCP server, something like 5.4 Mini or Llama 3.2. And you can find a complete list of these models if you go over to Models on Ollama, and then go to click on the Tools button, and then it filters on the most popular tool calling models. So by the time you're watching this video, there might be better models out, but as of today, QN3 is the most popular tool calling model. And it comes in a bunch of different sizes. I'm using the 8 billion parameter model in this video. So if you grab that, you can say Ollama and then pull and run that. And it'll go ahead and make sure that that's downloaded and installed on your computer. You can see that it takes up 5.2 gigabytes. So once you've pulled that, you could go ahead and run it, and we can just like make sure it's working. However, this will not let you use MCP tools. And as of time of filming, if I just type Ollama help, there's no like way to run MCP tools with Ollama. That's why I need to use MCPHost. It's going to be a way of communicating with Ollama and giving it access to these tools. I'm going to say, what tools do you have access to? All right, so Q1's listing out some like core capabilities and stuff, but it's saying, let me just stop this. So it's saying, I don't have access to external tools, real-time data, and so on and so forth. And what MCP is going to do is give Q1 access to these things. All right, the next step is installing MCPHost. We're going to install it right now using Go. So MCPHost indeed does host MCP servers, but it also gives you a command line interface for talking with those servers. Now, if you don't have Go on your computer, you can type brew install Go if you're on Mac, or install it however you want to on your system. On my system, it just said it's already installed but outdated, so it's giving me a little upgrade. And now I can install MCPHost, and I'm just going to copy this command. So that ran, which means MCPHost is installed, but I want to show you something. When I type MCPHost, it takes me to this go/bin, and this wasn't in my path. So I had to go ahead and add this. And if I open up my ZSHRC, actually, let me open up a new pane, ZSHRC, and then go host, there it is. So I had to add this into my path, and I extended it just to also include my home go bin. Great. So once that's set up, you can go ahead and run MCPHost --help, and we can see there's available models. We have Anthropic's Claude, and you can run that with this command. There's an OpenAI model, and then there's Ollama models, and we have the Google models, which are actually really good right now. So now let's run MCPHost, and I'm just going to run it plain without actually passing in any model like these examples. And so it's loaded the default model, which in my case was Anthropic and it was Claude. That doesn't really matter. I just want to look at the help commands. So I'm going to type help, and it has a few things I can do, like I could list tools and I can list servers. Let's try tools. There are no tools are currently disabled. Okay, let's try servers. No servers are configured. So let's configure our Obsidian MCP server. And looking at the tool MCPHost, we can see that it's going to automatically create a configuration file here in my home user directory with .mcp.json. So let's go ahead and open this file up. You can see it looks like this right now, on my system at least, and let's install the Obsidian MCP server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at how I set this up for Claude. This is what I did in my first video. I set this up, and so I'm just going to take the same configuration file from over there. So I'll just click Edit Config. I'll find that configuration file. This is how I set it up. So I'm going to copy this MCP Obsidian server. That's this chunk right here. And I'm just going to paste it in here. And we're going to be running with UVX this MCP Obsidian command, and then I have this API key which corresponds to my vault. Over in my vault, if I look in my settings and scroll down to local REST API, this is where I'm getting the API key right here. And this local REST API is a community plugin. Okay, so let's finally run MCPHost and talk to our vault with Ollama. And I'm going to list our Ollama models, and we want to use this Q13 8 billion. So referencing the example up here, I'm going to say MCP host -m Ollama, and then I'm going to type the name of my model, which is Q13 8 billion. And let's ask a question. Tell me some information about the vault that you've been connected to. So we can see tool use of Obsidian list files in Vault. Unfortunately, MCPHost currently doesn't support streaming, so I don't see as it's writing like you might expect. And here it's done, and it says, it starts by saying, I should mention the main files and directories, maybe explain. So this is the thinking phase that the sort of thinking tags have been stripped. So it's a little difficult to understand, but here's where it actually starts, the real output. And it says the Vault root directory contains the following folders and files. And it lists these out down here. By the way, guys, I've just added MCP to my AI Engineer Roadmap course, and I've got 3 lessons on fundamentals using and building with MCP. So this really talks about MCP from an engineering developer point of view. If you're interested in that, you should check this out. Great. Okay, thanks. So have a look at the index file and then output a bullet point summary of what's going on in here. So I'm going to cut out most of this part, but it's been thinking quite a while. Okay, so this took about 30 seconds to finish. And what's interesting is the first question I asked, we said list files in Vault. And now there's a list of the files already in the context. So when I asked for the index file, it knew that was called index.md, and it just went ahead and got the file contents directly for that file. And then based on the results of that, there's some thinking again, and then it's giving me the answer. And it's like, okay, here's the bullet point summary. This is what's going on. You have a bunch of notes about programming in here. By the way, if you want access to all of these notes in here, I have this available. And if you sign up for my email newsletter, which I mentioned at the start of this video, you'll actually get access to see all of these notes. I'll send you a link to look at these in Notion. Anywho, let's get back to talking with Ollama, and I'm going to ask a more difficult question. So I'm creating a table in BigQuery, and I want to optimize that with partitions and clustering. Have a look at my notes and let me know any considerations, things that I should think about when I'm doing this. Now, this is going to pull up a lot of context because I have a lot of notes on BigQuery. For example, I've read books on BigQuery, so I've like this Google Cloud Cookbook. We'll probably pull some context from there when we're doing this search. I also have course notes. So I've taken some courses like BigQuery for data engineers, and I've taken quite a lot of notes. So there's going to be a lot of data coming through the context of this model. This is where I got stuck with Claude Desktop because it was too much context for Claude to handle. And while this is thinking, I want to show you some more command line stuff. So I'm going to get out of my config and I'm just going to type nvtop. That'll let me see my GPU usage. So I've got a lot of memory on this computer and we're only using half of it. So memory is not at all a problem with this model and my setup, but my GPU is maxed out. So I'm working like my computer's working as hard as it can to process this task. I can also specifically say htop, and then I can filter on UV. And here we're going to see this instance of MCP's Obsidian running. So check out how my server is using 0 CPU and no memory. The servers themselves don't actually work hard at all. And here, it just finished. So the server just sent some data through, but all the server is really doing is passing data around. What's actually responsible for like all of the computational difficulty of this AI stuff is the models. And that was what was happening on my GPU. So let's come back up. Okay, so here's the response. It was able to process my question, and it has a lot of thinking. And then it gives me some considerations. Avoid partitioning on non-date fields. And I specifically remember like these parts of the notes. For example, this maximum partition number. So I can tell that this stuff is pulling directly from my notes. By the way, guys, if you could take a quick second and drop down in the comments how you use Obsidian MCP, like do you have any workflows or just like simple stuff, you could share those down in the comments. I'm sure everyone would appreciate reading those. Okay, so let's try actually writing to our notes. This information is great. Can you take all of this and then add a little bit more from your own knowledge of BigQuery on partitioning and clustering and create a new note for me? And go ahead and put that in the fact folder. So what I'm asking it to do here is take all this information it found and put it in this folder right here called fact. All right, so it's been about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. It hasn't actually used MCP until now when it just ran this tool. And I'd love to see what this patch content does. So if I type MCPHost again, so I want to type tools. So Obsidian patch content, insert content into an existing note relative to a heading. That's a little strange because I'm asking for a new note. So I would have expected Obsidian append content to a new or existing file. And that is concerning in a way because I'm sort of wondering what this is doing and I have no idea. So this is finished, but let me just show you this before we move on. If I go to my vault, that's where I have it located on my computer. And if I say git status, I've got this connected to GitHub. That's all I'm trying to show you. I have some untracked files, git index, and then this fact. This fact folder is untracked. Okay, so what it's done is it's gone ahead and created a new folder called fact. Okay, so let me open that file up down here. And this is what QN made. And of course, just to make this really transparent, this is the folder here. So I asked it to put it in the fact folder. I wanted it to go here, but it just went ahead and created it in a new folder called fact. And this is the new thing that it created for us. All right, so this is pretty cool and all, but it's definitely limiting using local models, at least on my hardware. So there's a model I wanted to try called Devstral 24 billion. Devstral's here, it's like right at the top, and it's saying it's the best open source model for coding agents. I'll type MCPHost-M Ollama and paste in, no, not that, it's Devstral. Okay, so this runs immediately because we're not actually running the model yet. Create a new note on how MCP works and categorize it according to the structure of my vault. Okay, so Devstral was not found. Maybe I just, oh, okay. So I think I need to explicitly say the 24 billion variation. All right, so now it's spinning, the model is thinking, and it's gonna load this into my memory. So, okay, so check this out. I'm at 37 gigs. I'm gonna see the size of this thing. So it's 14 gigabytes, and all those just got chucked into my memory, and we're going at 100% GPU. As we try and process this question with Devstral. So it couldn't get a list of files. Let me try another approach. So that's really weird. And what's unfortunate too is that I can't actually see the output of Ollama trying to do these things. All right, so rather than beat local models to death, I wanted to try using GPT's API and show you how that's done. Open AI and then GPT 4.0 mini. I'm just gonna say, hey, who are you? So these are just sending some API requests over to OpenAI. Okay, what tools do you have? How about MCP tools? Do you have any MCP stuff? Oh yes, I do. Have access to multi-channel processing. What? That allows me to interact with your Obsidian Vault. I find it hilarious how models don't understand yet what MCP is because it's so new. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Remember? Useless stuff. Let's do something real. I have a bunch of notes in here about BigQuery, doing stuff like partitioning, clustering. Can you list out some of those files for me? Okay, so it cranked out a whole bunch of tool use. Okay, what file do you think would be most relevant? All right, have a look at that one and summarize the key takeaways. It looks like you got the path wrong. You should be able to find that file inside the right folder. Okay, I think you're going to have a problem indexing my content. So why don't you go ahead and add that to the index file, a full like hierarchical structure of my vault. That way you understand it better next time. So in many ways, what I'm doing right now, I picture as a lot of the future of work. It's like using these voice interfaces and talking to computers. Okay, so it's gone ahead and done that. Obviously, my GPU is happy that I'm using this API. So if I look at my Git stuff, and let's check out the index. Actually, I'll just show you this in the actual vault, so we get a better UX. So if I go to index, what I asked for was like a hierarchical vault structure, and it seems like it's done that. So it's saying, oh, okay, here's where all your collections live. Okay, we also have a vault structure where all the notes are now in their folders. All right, so let's see if we can do it now. Okay, now help with the request I had above, given this information about the structure. Oh yeah, remember you were trying to read that file, data warehouse for practitioners, and summarize it for me? Oh boy, okay, have you forgot about this? It should be up in your context window. You should see the name of the right file. So I think what's happened is we've probably filled up our context, and so it can't remember that file that we were talking about earlier. So it's telling me it read the file, but I don't think it actually read it. I don't really believe it. Are you sure you read the right file? What's the name of the file, the markdown file? Okay, here it is. So that did work. By the way, I love talking to models in this way using my voice. And today I'm using a tool called Aqua. So you can try this out if you want. There's a free version, and if you like it, I have a link down in the video description for the pro version of this tool. All right, let's try a brand new conversation. So I'm going to restart it, fresh context. I've been learning about MCP recently, and I want to jot all of my notes down in one specific fact note. Can you create that note for me just to get me started, and then I can build it out more later? So this test is going to see, first of all, like what it writes and where it puts it. And it says, okay, I'm just appending content. So this is going to create a new file, and it called it mcpnotes.md. So if I go to my vault and check that out, here it is, mcp_notes. Yeah, that's fine. It's also screwed up what MCP is. No, you got MCP wrong. It stands for Model Context Protocol. Okay, so it deleted it, and it's redoing it here. Still confused. Doesn't really matter. Okay, great, but you put it in the wrong place and you called it the wrong thing. So update the location and the name and look at my index file in order to understand how to do that. Great. Okay, so it moved it to the notes/fact directory, and I think that's exactly what I wanted it to do. So now it's in here. The name isn't quite right. Update the name of the file to be working the same way as my other notes in my vault with the date. And also add some front matter to the file like I do my other notes. Maybe just have a look at one of the other notes in the same folder just to kind of figure out what that should look like, and then update this file. Okay, so now it's updated it. It's given a date of 2024. And it does have some front matter in here, and it's connected it to this MCP hub, and I wonder if it's created that hub. No, I didn't do that. I would want to add a file called mcp.md, and then that file I would want to, this should be lowercase as well. By the way, guys, I forgot to mention two things. The first, you'll need to set your OpenAI, so OpenAI API key, and you'll need to paste this in. You'll need to have this available in your environment before you're able to like talk like this way using OpenAI. So you sort of set that. Say I was to just set this right now, that would actually wipe it. And so now when I try to use this, it's like, oh, OpenAI key not provided. So you need to make sure you actually like run this and set your API key. The second thing I wanted to show you is some like how much this cost us. So I'll show you that in just a second. Let me just check this out. We can look at the chat completions. So if I look at my logs, all of this stuff is like from these conversations that I was just having, and it outputs all of this stuff. So you can like see, you know, exactly what's going on. So like, what file do you think would be the most relevant? And we can see like, okay, we're using these tools, all these tool calls, and we can see what's going on with those tool calls, like the results and what's going into those tool calls, the arguments being passed in. And this is going to have, yeah, all of our data. And the cost today, drum roll please, is 3 cents, less than that. So it's pretty affordable. So it's pretty obvious that this system would benefit from system prompting or like better workflows. And MCP Hub does support system prompting. So if you want to see how that works, you can continue watching here. I'll leave a link to that video. And I'm going to talk more about general workflows for engineers. Thanks for watching this one. And if you've got all the way to the end, please leave me a like and consider subscribing. These actions really help support me on YouTube and allow me to keep making these videos. Thank you for watching, and namaste.